Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry for those glitches. I apologize. My name is Rebecca Davis. I am the Stormwater Program Manager. I work at Lower Allen Township in Cumberland County, Pennsylvania. And I've been the Stormwater Program Manager there for over 3 years now. And I appreciate everyone being here and the opportunity to speak to share my experience and the township's experience with establishing a stormwater authority and fee. So just a little background, Lower Allen Township is a first-class municipality, and some of you may be aware that first-class townships and municipalities, we cannot establish a stormwater fee outright without establishing an authority. So we don't have the ability. The Municipality Authorities Act does not give us the ability to establish a fee without having an authority first, whereas second-class townships, there might be some on this presentation, they can establish the fee through their Board of Supervisors, but first-class municipalities cannot. So I was just going to touch on some of the basics of the process that Lower Allen Township went through to establish our authority and then subsequently establish our stormwater fee. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, so some of our early discussions, just some background for you. We, our Board of Commissioners, we started discussing our formation of our stormwater authority, in the fall of 2017. They were talking about, obviously we had budget season going on, and the commissioners were in the discussion of funding a stormwater program. We have aging infrastructure. We had capital projects to do. We have our NPDES permit that we knew we would have compliance, and it could compliance projects, and they just weren't going to be able to be subsidized through our general fund anymore. We have a substantial PRP, or a pollution reduction plan, that we had to implement. And we knew that the general fund was not going to be able to fund the PRP projects, let alone help with our aging infrastructure and some of the capital projects that the township wanted to implement. So the board started discussion in 2017 about forming this authority. And like I said, one of the main components was our PRP, and our township engineer and staff started to get that plan submitted to DEP, and we were looking at estimates of over $3.1 million to implement our PRP projects within a 5-year permit period. And because of those large amounts, the commissioners decided that it would be best to establish a stormwater authority, and we went out looking for residents that could be part of that authority, and they looked at also establishing a stormwater fee. So those were some of the early discussions that started that progression into where we have ended up now at Lower Allen. So our program, just a little background too about our MS4 program, we have a significant amount of linear feet of stormwater pipe in our municipality. We have over 110,600 linear feet of stormwater pipe. I'd say about 30% of that pipe is aging in excess of 50 years. We have had some television done. I'll talk about that later. And we've utilized our stormwater fee that we've implemented to do some stormwater pipe television, and have determined that there's some areas that we need to do some significant work on in the municipality because of that aging infrastructure. We have over 100 storm manholes, almost 100 outfalls, a little over 634 inlets. The 130 BMPs has actually risen. That's about 150 now. I did not update that number. We have had a significant amount of best management practices installed in our township once we enacted the fee, and I'll talk about our credit program, but because of enacting that fee, we offer a robust credit program in our municipality, and that has actually encouraged the participation of BMP installation in our municipality. So it's been a win-win for residents and for Lower Allen Township. And we have 60 plus miles of township roads. So we have a pretty big, robust MS4 program and infrastructure in LAT. So some of the benefits of establishing a stormwater management program and that have benefited Lower Allen Township, cleaner streams it might sound obvious, and it might be obvious to you, but because of those BMP installations and some of the infrastructure repair and replacement we've done, we've been able to reduce some of those pollutants that end up in the Yellow Breeches and the Cedar Run. Those are the two streams in Lower Allen Township that eventually end up in the Susquehanna River and go to the Chesapeake Bay. So cleaner streams is a great benefit to establishing our program, and also improved recreational opportunities. And the bottom picture you see there on the in the bottom of the slide, that's the Yellow Breeches Creek, and that's a development in our municipality called Allendale. And we've got aging infrastructure problems there. And the Yellow Breeches, whenever it would crest its banks, we have flooding in that neighborhood. So through some television and some work, we're going to be able to slip line and repair some of those pipes and replace some inlets with our fee, and have some improved recreational opportunities and access to the Yellow Breeches as well. Obviously, we can comply with our federal regulatory mandates, our PRP, our NPDES permit. Reduce our flooding hazards is very important. There's other areas in the township that we've been looking at putting permeable pavement, permeable walking areas and paths, and bioretention areas, and creating some green streets in our municipality to reduce some flood hazards, especially along Gettysburg Road in our municipality. And then what's been very important about our program and our fee is that we've actually developed more community awareness and support. I'll talk about our outreach, but in the beginning of the fee, I know some municipalities might have struggled with this, where people will come to your meetings and be very upset or distraught about, why are you doing this? Why are you enacting a fee? You're just, causing extra burden on residents. But through our outreach and developing our community awareness with our public meetings, our website, Facebook, and mailings, we've actually turned that leaf over and created support for our program, and created more awareness and more community involvement in our program, which has been a win for Lower Allen Township, definitely. So, some of the reasons why I touched on this a little bit before, but some of the reasons why we had a rationalization for the formation of our authority is, number one, I explained that for a first-class township, the law requires development of the authority to enact our fee. So that's through the Municipalities Authorities Act. So if you are a first-class municipality, you have to have a stormwater authority to be able to assess your fee. And then the municipal authorities can implement our fees to pay for their work. So our general tax revenue, now it can be conserved for other municipal needs. And we have a dedicated source of revenue now that can be attributed to these projects, whereas before we didn't. So this stormwater fee is dedicated to stormwater infrastructure repair, replacement, our MS4 permit, our NPDES MS4 permit, and any other stormwater infrastructure needs that Lower Allen Township needs, and it's a dedicated source of revenue for that. Also, the long-term planning of our projects will be easier because of that dedicated source of revenue. We're able to forecast and project projects and budget much better with this fee to determine what projects we can do and have milestones set for infrastructure repair and replacement, especially in Lower Allen Township. So a little bit about the timeline for our fee. The Board of Commissioners actually selected a firm. Their name is Arcadis. They're out of Philadelphia, and they performed a stormwater fee study in February of 2018. And our outreach was vital. We had outreach meetings, public meetings that we invited residential and commercial property owners to. We had 3 public meetings, and then prior to voting on the process of forming our stormwater authority and establishing our fees. So we had 3 public meetings we invited the public to. And then in July of 2018, the Board of Commissioners voted to have our township solicitor begin the process of forming the authority and the fee. And we had a public hearing in late August to organize our stormwater authority under the Municipal Authorities Act. We passed an ordinance to appoint our members, and then we created our articles of incorporation. So there's a process through to form your authority, and it's pretty involved. So you want to get your township solicitor involved so that you can adopt your ordinance, create your articles of incorporation, and cross all your T's and dot your I's so you properly create your authority. Our fee study was completed in October of 2018, and then LATSA, which is our Lower Allen Township Stormwater Authority, held our first organizational meeting on October 4th of 2018. So, and they declared themselves a financing authority. And what that means for Lower Allen Township is LATSA finances our stormwater program, but the township still operates our stormwater system. So we are a financing authority only, not an operational authority. And then in December of 2018, we enacted our stormwater fee resolution, and our first quarterly bills were not mailed till April of 2019. Prior to mailing those bills, this next slide, I do want to talk to you briefly. Prior to mailing those bills and in between the creation of our authority at the end of 2018, and the bills did not go out till April of 2019, there was an important process that happened in between there and enacting the fee. LATSA created our credit and appeals policy, and we wanted that in place prior to enacting the fee. And the reason why is, and it was very important to us, we had at that time over 130 BMP owners that were deserving of a credit. They placed a best management practice on their property, and the township felt that because they did that and installed that best management practice, they were eligible for a credit to their fee. And we offer up to a 50% reduction in fees if you up to a 50% reduction if you handle 100% of the stormwater volume and handle that in your property with the best management practice, whether you're infiltrating or depending on what BMP you have. And it must be a structural BMP. At this time, we have not opened our credit program up to non-structural BMPs, not saying that we won't, but right now we only authorize credits for structural BMPs. But having that policy in place prior to enacting our fee, we actually outreach to every single BMP owner by mail and authorize them to apply for their credit. And the majority of them did, and we authorized them to apply for that credit prior to even enacting the fee. So they had the credit in place and were given that credit prior to being billed the fee. So that really helped with the outreach, that helped with the PR of our stormwater fee, and it helped create a working relationship with those existing BMP owners. So that was very important to our municipality, and it was a great move on behalf of Lower Allen Township. I'm proud to be part of that process, and I'd recommend it to anybody else who's looking to enact their fee. It's important to have that credit and appeals policy in place prior to the fee enactment. A little bit about our outreach. I talked about our public meetings. We had an SAC, a Stormwater Advisory Committee. We invited large commercial property owners and residential property to those meetings. We had newsletter articles regarding our fee, individual mailings. Anybody that received a stormwater, or excuse me, we bill for sewer and refuse as well in Lower Allen. We put postcard mailings in with those bills to let individuals know, hey, there's an upcoming stormwater fee, please call with any questions. And then we also had notifications on our website. Here's a little bit about our budget. We chose a full O&M maintenance plan, operation and maintenance plan, when we implemented the fee. Our budget's $1.2 million a year. We did a 5-year budget to coincide with our 5-year permit from DEP. And right now, you can see the percentages that our budget encompasses. 65% of our budget is MS4 compliance. We have operation and maintenance, which is about almost 30%. Street cleaning is 2.2%. We have 3%, which is our fee program. We have administration billing, and we have collections. And we have legacy transaction costs. That is 1.1%. That was the cost that the township commissioners paid to have Arcadis perform our stormwater fee study. So I know some people might have, I know that there was a question asked earlier about who has a fee, who does not. Some people in municipalities in the state have chosen tiered fees. Lower Round had chose a flat rate fee per ERU. One of the reasons we chose this flat rate fee per ERU, well, there's several reasons, but one is definitely it's easier to administer. It's equitable for all property owners. What we did is Arcadis took a sampling of about 40% of our residential properties and all commercial properties to determine the impervious area in our municipality. We divided that by the total number of parcels in our municipality to find that the average impervious surface area, or ERU, per parcel was 3,115 square feet per lot. We took our budget, our total budget, and divided that by the number of parcels to determine that our ERU rate was going to be $19 per that ERU. And then the Board of Commissioners chose to do a flat rate instead of a tiered rate. So residential properties in Lower Allen Township are all billed a flat rate of $19 per ERU, and commercial properties are billed based upon the amount of impervious area they have per lot. So for every 3,115 square feet, commercial properties are billed $19, and non-residential properties such as apartment units. This program, the flat rate, definitely required minimal cost and effort to implement compared to a tiered rate billing option. The township felt that all property owners really benefit from this community-wide stormwater management system, and it manages stormwater from roads and properties. And we have definitely it's been less likely to be appealed for incorrect IA or impervious area. We have billed over 7,000 parcels in our municipality. We have received to date not even less than 1% of it, or excuse me, less than 10% of appeals. Only about 50 appeals, and 3 appeals have been granted for incorrect IA. So we've had a very good success rate with the appeals in Lower Allen Township. Another reason that we felt the flat rate fee per ERU why we chose that, was residential customers in our municipality, they pay a flat rate for sewer and trash service, even though the amount of trash or wastewater generated could vary. So the stormwater fee took a similar approach, and it facilitated consistency with those utility fees in our municipality. And then I talked about that the commercial and the non-residential property owners, they pay a fee based upon the number of ERUs of IA that exist on their property. So it's an equivalent of $19 per every 3,115 square feet. Am I doing okay on time?
You're good.
You're good. Okay. I talked about this earlier. There's our appeal policy. We had that in place prior to the fee. So that was adopted in February of 2019. Our fee did not go out till April of 2019. Staff created and drafted this appeal policy. We worked with our Stormwater Authority. Like I said, the Stormwater Authority met in October, and it took us 4 months to finalize this policy. A lot of work went into this policy, and the staff of LATSA and township staff are proud to be able to offer it to our residential and commercial property owners. We finalized it in February. And then, like I said, we've reached out to these existing property owners, residential and commercial, that had BMPs, and we encouraged them to apply for this fee before enacting our fee and billing it. To date, we've issued 64 fee credits to residential and over 28. And actually, I've got 29 now, because if you've seen, we have a sheets store that opened up in our municipality. It's right off of 83, and they've just applied for their credit and they've received credit. They've got a 45% reduction in their stormwater fee. They put in bioretention areas and some pervious pavement. So we've got a good amount of credits issued to property owners in our municipality. There's the stormwater fee appeals. 4 appeals were granted for incorrect IA. We've received a little bit more than 24 appeals since I've drafted this presentation, but only 4 were granted. And some of those, when we had properties digitized, and what I mean by that is we had Arcadis traced the impervious area on all the commercial properties in our municipality. Some properties, the digitization might have went slightly over the property line, and it might have had a discrepancy in the amount of square footage of impervious area than what the property owner had. And they would contact me and give me a survey or show me detailed drawings, and we realized we were off by several hundred square feet, which did alter their stormwater fee. But having the appeals process in place prior to enacting the fee was important, so they had the ability for a chance to appeal and the opportunity to appeal. And there was a written process in place for that. So we bill over 6,000 customers, and we bill quarterly, and we bill on our refuse and sewer bill. So it's already a utility bill that we were billing. We added the stormwater fee to that bill. Finance and our engineering departments work simultaneously to create the billing database. We have we're almost 2 years into this, we have less than 1% delinquency rate. So over 6,000 customers, we've only had less than 60 that have not paid or are delinquent in payment. And the outreach was pivotal to the initial acceptance of our fee. Complaints were minimal, and it has created a great relationship with residents and commercial property owners with respect to outreach and more BMP installation in our municipality. So it's a win-win for Lower Allen Township. So I do want to touch on some of our PRP projects that we've done, and we're utilizing our fee to pay for these projects. This is our public works facility. We did a basin retrofit project. We had a contractor come in. We bid this project and had a contractor come in. We amended the soils in the basin, and we planted native plantings in the basin to reduce pollution. We installed a stone berm at the outlet structure to capture stormwater runoff and pond that so that it can be infiltrated into the ground and treated by these native plants that we've installed. That's a picture of construction, and then that was done just this past fall. There's another project that we did at the corner of Lisburn and Sheepford Road, and this is at the entrance to a municipality or a subdivision, excuse me, called Sheepford Estates. And I think you probably can see on the left side, there's some coyote decoys in that basin. We put the whole, we retrofitted the basin, we got all the plants in, and then we started to have a population of geese attack the basin. They were uprooting my plants and pulling some of my plug plantings out. So we had some coyote decoys that we placed in the basin until we could have geese protection fencing put in place. So if you are, word of caution, if you're doing any types of these projects and you're around open water, or if the basin's completely open and you know that there's geese in the area, you might want to make some provisions to apply for put some netting. There's netting that goes across the top of the basin and fencing that goes around it to keep the geese from landing in the basin and causing destruction to your plants. So television, we have areas in the township. We definitely determined 2 areas in the township that we had stormwater ponding and flooding with aging infrastructure. We solicited CoStar quotes and had flushing and television of the line. And we are placing out to bid this year lining of the pipes and inlet replacement in areas of our township. The infrastructure in both of these areas is aging in excess of 60 years. Shockingly, the pipe was in pretty decent shape. The inlets need replaced, and by lining the pipe, we'll gain, we almost will double the capacity in hopes to mitigate that flooding and the ponding issues in our municipality. And the stormwater fee is helping us pay for those projects. To date, Lower Allen Townships, we have 10 PRP projects. We have received grants for 5 of them to date. Pretty proud of that number, over $500,000 of award grants, 2 through NIFWF, National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and 3 through DEP. So those projects, 2 are completed. I showed pictures earlier of Public Works in Sheepford West, and 3 additional projects are going out to bid here in the near future once we get our grant agreements through DEP and NIFWF. Some of the next steps for our program. Well, we have 8 additional PRP projects to complete. I don't want to go too much into the permit requirements because I know this was about fees, but we do have water sampling required because we have appendices on our permit with respect to pathogens and priority organic compounds. So we need to do some water sampling to determine. We had to get a list to DEP to determine where we think those pollutants could possibly be, and we're going to do some water sampling this year to see if we can determine if any of those pollutants are coming from the areas that we suspected. We are doing our ordinance revision this year for DEP through our model to adopt DEP's model ordinance. It's required through our permit. We are doing more television this year. We have 2 additional areas to determine if we need infrastructure repair and replacement. And we are doing significant program updates to our GIS mapping to educate our public on stormwater management. We are doing some GIS story maps on our base and retrofit projects, and we are updating our GIS data with respect to outfalls, infrastructure mapping, and stormwater pipe mapping. So those are some next steps for our program, and what our MS4 fee, or our stormwater fee, excuse me, can help to implement and pay for in Lower Allen Township. And that's all I have.
That's great. Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
There are some questions.
Okay, sure.
The first one is from a participant. It says, can boroughs establish a fee without an authority?
That's a good question. I don't know. Does anybody else know? I think you can, but I'm not 100% aware. I know second-class townships can.
Do you have, I guess, Rebecca, suggestions on where to be able to research that
Yeah.
answer?
I just wanted, this is Keisha Grieva. I'm in Lemoyne Borough. I just wanted to interrupt real quickly because I have a bit of information about that. In the borough, the Pennsylvania Borough Code, there is, boroughs can establish a fee without utilizing an authority.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So you want to check your Pennsylvania Borough Code for specifics on that, but that is what we were able to do in Lemoyne without the requirement of establishing an authority, because we only have 4,900 residents. We're a very small township.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right. So the next question was, how did you handle pushback on the fee from the business community? You talked a lot about the public education, so maybe there wasn't any pushback. Maybe they were all very excited about a new fee.
Unfortunately, no, they were not. But what's really important about the pushback on the fee, especially with commercial property owners, is, there's one large commercial property owner in our municipality that had no BMPs on their property, and after the educational component of our outreach meetings and the credit policy being in place prior to enacting the fee, they've actually now installed 2 BMPs in their property, and they're getting a 50% reduction. So their fee went from $11,000 a quarter to cut in half. So to me, the credit policy was pivotal to the PR of the fee, and getting property owners and commercial property owners specifically to be on board with the fee.
Okay, that's really great advice. I worked in a municipality where that was not the case, where the credit came first. So
Yep. It was a lot of work, but it was very important.
Yeah, that's great advice. So another question is, you had mentioned that the fee per ERU is billed quarterly. Is that a per month bill that's billed, a per month fee that's billed quarterly?
No, it's a quarterly fee.
Okay.
It's $19 a quarter, and it's billed quarterly. It's not a monthly fee. So it's, for a residential property, it's $76 a year.
Okay.
If you want to break it out monthly, you could take that $19 and divide it by 4, right? But it's for the quarter, it's $19.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. And then another question is, how do you let the public know what the money collected as part of the fee is paying for? So that outreach to show their investment, so to speak.
Yeah, so that's what some of the things I was talking about. We have our budget done every year. That budget is made public, and anyone from the township or anywhere can attend our budget meetings. And the LATSA, our Stormwater Authority, meets once a month. So we talk about what we're spending the money on. We have a specific budget, and it's all public information. Another component that's very important is us doing these GIS story maps and showing the public what we're doing with our fee. Specifically, we're going to do, we have 2 maps that we're producing right now that we're going to put on our website and Facebook page to show the PRP projects. And then when we do our slip lining projects here, and we're hoping to have those out to bid this spring and done this summer, we're going to have all of that published on our website to show the public what we're using that fee for. And then our fee study, that was all put on our website though. So that showed our program budget, and it showed that pie chart and what we were breaking the fee down and what we're spending that money on. So we're transparent with that information, and that's important so the public knows what this money is going to.
Wonderful. Those story maps sound like they'll be really interesting to check out.
Yes.
So another question, if a stormwater fund is established through fees paid to an authority, can that fund pay or reimburse for O&M of an existing privately owned BMP on a residential property?
So operation and maintenance of a BMP on a residential property, it's a privately owned property. I'm trying to understand this question.
Right. So I'm assuming maybe you've got a privately owned residential BMP where maybe they're not keeping up their O&M. Could you use money from the fund to go in there and do O&M that needs to happen? That's what I'm assuming, Jessica.
If that's the question, if we had to, so we have a robust program with respect to these BMPs where we send out inspection forms. Now, anybody who has a best management practice in Lower Allen Township is required to enter into an O&M agreement with the municipality. That agreement holds that property owner, to maintaining their BMP. There's language in our ordinance that if they don't maintain their BMP and don't report to the township that they're maintaining it, we have the right to go in and perform an inspection, and we have the right to make the repairs and bill the owner. So the fee necessarily wouldn't pay for that. That would be on the owner because they've entered into an agreement to maintain that BMP as part of their agreement with the township. Now, there's a whole different component to that. If they have a stormwater credit, I encourage you to go onto our website and look at our credit policy. If they have a stormwater credit, a condition of their credit is maintaining their BMP. So if they don't report to the township and maintain their BMP, their credit will be revoked.
Okay, great. Jessica, in the chat, let me know if Rebecca's answer hit on what your question was. And the next question, if I'm just keeping an eye on time, we've got 3 minutes. Are credits based on the amount of impervious area already addressed by an existing BMP?
Credits are based off of the amount of impervious area that's being handled by the BMP. So if you handle 100% of your impervious runoff through a structural BMP, you would get up to a 50% reduction, and then it goes down from there. If you handle 30%, you get 15%. So it's tiered based off the amount of impervious area that you're handling with that BMP. And I can share that credit policy if you need me to, if you want to share it with the participants. And it's also on our website.
Yeah, if you want to drop a link in the chat for folks, that would be fantastic.
I can do that.
Are there any other questions or follow-up questions for Rebecca before we move back into the plenary? We still have 2 minutes. Well, I don't see any questions popping up, so let's give a round of virtual appreciation to Rebecca for this excellent presentation. There's definitely lots of good tips in there and definitely comprehensive. So thank you very much for your time and pulling this information together and sharing it with us today.